ferociousness has completely left this man. He would have been a good situational pass rusher, but it is not the end of the world that the Broncos did not sign this man. He is way past his prime, would not have done enough to replace Miller. He would have done something to help offset it, but by no means in any way, shape, or form would this man have done anything to really make you forget about Von Miller. With that being said, let's go ahead and make a little segue into talking about potential Von Miller replacements. Now, I want to start off by prefacing that none of these options are going to replace the production of Von Miller. What I am talking about is them replacing his roster spot that has been open since he's been put on the injured reserve and why they reached out to Clay Matthews. The internal options we've already discussed of Jeremiah and Malik. There's also a third internal option, which is Derek Tuska. He was a 7th round draft pick by the Broncos in this past draft, and he was the most productive pass rusher coming out of Baylor in decades. So he has a lot to give when it comes to the pass rush, but he needs to bulk up. He is quite small for an outside linebacker in a 3-4 defense, and even Vic Fangio has said that he needs to pack on some muscle and gain some strength. So I don't see them immediately bringing him up from the practice squad unless they absolutely have to and they can't find anything before Monday. But the two options that I like that are still available, the first one is a former top 10 pick by the Miami Dolphins when he came out of Oregon, and that is Dion Jordan. He was an absolute athletic freak that just completely blew up the combine. People had him in the first round before the combine, but after the combine, and he just blew the doors off of every single drill. He ended up sneaking into the top 10 and being picked by the Miami Dolphins. He never really panned out, though. He's never had more than 4 sacks in a season, and that came in 2017 as a member of the Seattle Seahawks. With the Dolphins, he had a total of 3 sacks in 3 years, and his 2016 season was completely wiped out by injury outside of 4 games that he didn't even play in. He was just a backup that never even saw the field. Obviously, there's some risk there, but there's also a ton of talent, and it's a Vic Fangio special to take these former high first-round draft picks that flame out other places and just turn them into stars like Prince Amukamara and just all of the Dome Patrol defense back when he was with the New Orleans Saints in the late 80s, early 90s. The other option that is available out there is Jabal Sheard. He's a more veteran option and a much more consistent option. He doesn't have the upside of a Deion Jones who could possibly, if he reaches his potential, actually replace the production of Miller. This is more of a safe choice that you know what you're going to get. It's nothing spectacular, but you're going to get a hard-nosed football player that's going to play every down with everything he has, and he's going to give you consistent production as he's not had less than 4.5 sacks in a single season in the last 5 years. So he's going to go out there. He's not going to wow you, not going to fill up the stat sheet, but he is going to give you a consistent effort and a consistent production that you can rely on. And you're not worried, is this going to be one of those games where he just turns it off? Because this man's motor never stops. And it's another thing that endears me to him. I've seen the way he played in Cleveland and New England and Indianapolis. So he's been not only in a place where he was led to be, a somewhat star in Cleveland because there wasn't really much else around him, but he's also been in places that he's had to produce, like New England, where he had 8 sacks in 2015. So there's definitely potential out there. This market is very, very thin at this point for obvious reasons, but there are still, as you can see, some solid options that can at least add some depth, so that way it's not all just thrown on Malik and Jeremiah. Well, it's that time again. Stick around after the break, and we're going to go ahead and break down all the best bets you can find on BetMGM for the Broncos. I just want to make sure if you are wanting to use my picks or just make your own, make sure you give our sponsor BetMGM a look. Just download the app and use promo code ABEBONUS, that's ABE bonus, to get free bets. Also, Follow all of us betting experts from AmericanBettingExperts.com on Twitter for weekly competitions and free money given away constantly. Just follow at CO Sports Fans, that's sports with an S, and DM them for details. And thanks again for sticking around here at Breakin Broncos Podcast with me, Daniel Wetstein, your host. And now we're going to go ahead and jump into some fun and just talk about some of the best bets that I have found on our sponsor, BetMGM.com. The first one that really stuck out to me was one that just seems like it's too good to be real. And what that is the Broncos to score more than 13.5 first half points. That just means that they have to score 2 touchdowns before halftime. I do not see this Tennessee Titans defense being able to just dominate the Broncos offense in Power Field, regardless of fans or not. I just don't see that happening. So it just seems like it's easy money. So I am definitely taking that and putting everything that I have towards it within reason, of course. The next one that's going to pop out, and it should to everybody, is just going to be simply the money line. The money line, due to the injury to Von Miller and also the scare of Courtland Sutton on Thursday, has moved the line to a very advantageous plus 110. So it's put them as the underdog, as we discussed earlier. So I'm jumping all over that as well. That's just an easy way to go ahead and more than double up your money, because we're at plus 110 above the plus 100. That would just simply double your money. So go ahead, please jump on that, pound that all day long. There's also some great spreads that they have as well, not just the normal spread that pretty much everybody has, is the Broncos at plus 1.5. They actually have everywhere from negative 1.5 to plus 1. And the most advantageous that I can see out of all of these is going to be the Broncos at negative 1.5, which just means that they have to beat the Tennessee Titans by at least 2 points at plus 120. That's another one that I'm going to go ahead and hammer on. So definitely jump on that one as well. Then you also have the over-under is currently set at 41. That does seem a bit low when you add in the fact that defenses are going to be a little behind offenses in the fact that they haven't hit anybody yet. So their tackling form is going to be poor. You're going to see a lot of missed tackles. You're going to see a lot of plays that defenses would normally make are not going to be made because they just simply haven't had the live bullets fly. So they don't really have the ability to put the pressure on the way that they normally would. So with that over-under being set at 41 points, I'm really wanting to take the over, which right now is set at 106. So a negative 106. I should be specific on that. It's still a very advantageous line at 41.5 points at negative 106. So that's another bet that I'm going to jump on and pound that away as well. Now there's also several different alternate over-unders, which are absolutely wonderful, and I love about BetMGM is they really do a great job of making sure that they offer you not just what they want to offer you, but give you options and myriads of options that a lot of sports books just don't want to offer. So they have anywhere from a line of 31.5 to 50.5. That range is anywhere on the over at the 31.5 is at negative 334, and the 50.5 is at plus 240. You can really start to play around with this. I'm going to stick at the 41.5. That just seems like a good number to be at to take the over on and still get a good profit. Obviously, you could take these other ones like 38.5 is still pretty good at negative 143, or 39.5 points is still good at negative 134. So you can really play with those. In the unders, I mean, they're just the opposite, essentially. You got the negative 304 at 50.5 and the plus 260 at 31.5. I would be very careful once you get into the 30s and taking the under. The lowest in the 30s I would take the under on would be 39.5. Because, I mean, there is a chance that the offenses just come out sluggish and they can't get anywhere, and there's just penalty after penalty after penalty. And so you have those issues that screw up the flow of the game and drives and ends drives prematurely. So you may have that possibility of grabbing that under, which would be a pretty nice payout at plus 110. So if you're feeling a little frisky and you don't trust that either of these offenses are going to be able to do anything, that would be a good under to take. Really, those are going to be the only ones that I'm going to really put on this podcast for y'all to grab, because they're the ones that I feel the most confident in. Now, there's a ton of other options here, and more come out every day as they add different overs, unders, winning margins, how many points will each team score in each quarter, half, etc. And then when game day comes, this is a very advantageous thing to know if you don't already know, which is the fact that when game day comes, they will put out the player props. Right now you can get game props like the over-unders and things of that nature, but they don't normally put out those player props until the day of competition. There's a myriad of different reasons why that is, and I'm not going to get into those because it's quite boring and I don't want to completely lose you here at the end. But just know that every time you want to get player props, just wait until the day of. Those are going to be the most advantageous. There's some books that put them out sooner, but the most advantageous lines are going to be day of the game. So make sure that you check back at betmgm.com on the day of the game. And if you haven't already signed up, please go to betmgm.com, sign up, use the promo code ABEBONUS. That's ABEBONUS. ABEBONUS. And get your free money. Because not only are you going to get what BetMGM gives you, but you get them. You take a shout out to at CO Sports Fans. That's CO Sports with an S, fans with an S. And they will get you hooked up with some free bets just for using our promo code. That is our show for you today, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I have had an absolute blast speaking to you. Please follow me on Twitter at Dan Wetstein II. And I'm constantly posting. You can find my articles that I write for AmericanBettingExperts.com, as well as you will be able to keep abreast of any new contests that we have coming out that are coming out weekly. And I'll have on there exactly how you can get your free bets, how you can jump into the competition. And that's also where you can find out about the amazing prizes that we will have for you at the end of these competitions. So again, thank you for listening. I hope you'll have an absolutely amazing weekend. And I look forward to seeing you again here next week. Same time, same place.